Good morning. It is 11:22, Sunday, December 7th. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone has had a good weekend. It's still going on, still not over. So, yeah, it's been pretty fun weekend. Yesterday I went to go see some friends. My friends playing this really awesome local band. I went to go see them at this really cool venue in Unity, and it was a really cool gig. And there was another band playing called Wormhole. It was Oov. That is a band with my really good friend Sam and Ronnie, and they both play in this really great proggy kind of swamp rock band called Oov, which is they're just super awesome. They played with this other band that I only heard a little bit of, and I was really into them. And I was almost going to buy some of their merch, but then I ended up leaving right after the show, and I'll tell you why. But they played last night at the Unity Center of the Arts, and it was great. It was really great. Both bands are killer, and Wormhole I'd never seen before, and they had some seriously cool stuff, and I'm gonna definitely check them out and then definitely buy some merch when I can. But I left early because the show was at Unity Center of the Arts, which is a really beautiful venue. I've been to a lot of shows there, and I've played there a lot over the years. And but it was freezing cold. It was so cold in the fucking room. Um, the people that were there were like wearing full on, their jackets and everything. But it was freezing, and it just got colder. And I legitimately, after the music was done, because the music was great, so I wanted to stay to the end, and it was, support my friends and stuff. Um, I literally like bailed. I said goodbye quick, and I was like out of here. And then I went in my car and I fucking cranked the heat up because it was so cold in there. It was just like, man, what is going on here? Like if it gets any colder, you would be able to see your breath. So it was weird. It was super weird. It was a weird setup because they didn't have anything to drink. There was definitely no alcohol there, which was kind of a bummer, which I didn't expect there to be. But they didn't have water, and then someone got some water, but it was kind of, yeah. But the music itself was killer, and it's a beautiful venue. But that was weird. Anyway, and then tonight I am beyond excited. I did a big show on this coming extravaganza, but this is actually the third attempt to go see it. And knock on wood, it's actually going to happen. But I'm actually going to go see tonight the whole bloody affair, the re-release of the Quentin Tarantino Kill Bill movies. So I'm super excited. This is my third try now going to see it because the first time we went last weekend, and I went with my buddy, and we somehow didn't look at the date of when the show was, and it was actually for this weekend. So we screwed up, but then we ended up making the best of it, and it ended up being a great night. We ended up seeing the new Knives Out movie, which was really good. And we saw it. It was my first time at this new theater that the Colby College in Waterville built, and it's this art center, and it's an awesome spot. I mean, they have three theaters, and there's like an art gallery. It's a big giant kind of space. Really cool spot. Real modern looking inside, and the sound was great in this one theater. So I'm excited. I'm super pumped. And then so Saturday, which was yesterday, we were, because of our little screw up, we were going to go see it yesterday, but then my buddy got sick, so he couldn't leave the house. So then tonight, and then I was like, God damn, I got to figure out, because it's only playing at this theater for a very limited time. It's only playing Friday. It was playing, well, played Friday, Saturday, and then today and tonight, and then through Thursday, I think. And I can't go during the week because of my schedule. So tonight's the last night and the last day that I could go. And so I was like, well, I don't know. And it was hard. People are, have busy lives and stuff, and it was kind of last minute, not a lot of notice. And it's 4.5 hours. I mean, it's not like just going to see a regular movie. I mean, it's an investment in time, So, and I couldn't really find anybody to go on Saturday, and I was asking some friends, and then I finally found a friend or two that we're totally into going. So it's going to happen tonight. I was even going to go today or tonight. I was going to go probably just go by myself if I couldn't find a friend, because I was like, if I don't get a chance to see this whole kind of thing in the theater, I'm going to shoot myself. So, but it's even more fun that I have a couple friends to go. So I'll definitely do a huge show, probably tomorrow, which is Monday, on the whole kind of experience and what it's like. There's also a really right across the street. Waterville's a really cool town. There's a lot of cool restaurants now and a couple of really cool bars, and there's a really good, awesome Indian restaurant right across the street. So we're gonna go there before the movie. So really excited. So I will definitely have a big report back. So I've been watching some new. I came across a couple of really fantastic new YouTube channels, movie based, of course. Surprise, surprise. Then I've been seeing in my travels some other shows on uh, where a lot of these guys and girls are giving their lists and talking about winter movies, and I'm like, that's a cool idea. Like movies that have, winter is a big part of it, because the seasonal part of the winter, the cold, the darkness, all those great things. And there's a ton of great movies that the kind of the winter element or the winter climate is such a huge part of that movie. And I was watching some of these shows on that, and I was like, you know what, that's a really cool idea. And kind of subconsciously, which I didn't realize, I do watch movies that are very much kind of set in the winter space. So I was like, that's a cool show. And a lot of these, one or two of these shows that I watched, one was really, really good, and they named a couple of movies that I was like, you know what, that is awesome. That's a really good pick. So it kind of inspired me to do my own version here on Film Fanatic. And it's a two-parter. This is the second part. I made a video yesterday where I talked about a handful of movies, and then the video should be uploaded. It might be uploaded by today. It's a longer video because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of movies really tied to the whole winter season, which I didn't really, like really think about. So yesterday I did a show where I talked about, just the gist of movies that I really love and that really kind of put me in that winter state of mind. I'm not a huge fan of winter. I'm not a big fan of the cold, but I actually do like the snow, and I do like when snow is on the ground and it sticks to the trees and it doesn't all melt away. I hate it when it snows a lot and then the next day it's super warm and it all melts. I hate that. It's nice during this when you're getting close to the springtime, but it's technically not winter yet. It's we're still a little bit away from the actual winter season, the solstice. So, but I do like the snow, and I like when it's not like Arctic weather. But yesterday I talked about The Shining. I talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, Fargo. I talked about McCabe and Mrs. Miller, a Robert Altman film, which came to me at the last minute. I was like, you know what, that's a really great film for that. And I talked about Affliction, Paul Schrader's Affliction, and then Sam Raimi's A Simple Plan. So I just covered, quite a few movies in the first part. And originally I was going to do just one show on all things, related to the season of winter, when it comes to movies and films. But then yesterday, of course, I'm like sitting around thinking about the video, and then I was like, wait, there's a pretty good amount of movies that I still haven't talked about that really, really put me in that state of mind. So then that gave me this idea to do a part two, which is today's show. So this is going to be wintertime movies. Do. And again, not necessarily in a, like a specific order. Kind of, maybe, loose. A loose kind of order, if you will. But there's a few movies that I was like, I should definitely talk about these movies. One that was mentioned that I was like, when I was watching these videos that kind of inspired this idea, one that was mentioned that I realized I didn't talk about, and I was like, I got to talk about it because I absolutely love this movie. I have it on. I have a couple copies of it. I have it on DVD, and then I have it on Blu-ray, and I've seen it a shit ton of times. And it is such a winter movie. But I also think it is one of the greatest vampire movies ever made, easily hands down. And that is called Let the Right One In. It came out maybe about 10 years ago or so. It is an absolutely incredible vampire movie. Let the Right One In. If you haven't seen it, if you're a vampire fan, I mean, it's everything you want. It's a super dark vampire film. It's very it's just got such atmosphere. It's such a creepy kind of disturbing movie as well. But Let the Right One In, and winter is such a massive part of that movie. After I did the first part of this winter, movie series idea, and I thought about this movie, Let the Right One In, I was like, why didn't I talk about that? Like, that movie it's pretty much as wintry as you can possibly get. Like, it really is. So, but that's one of the reasons I was like, okay, I got to do part two. But Let the Right One In, I can't recommend that movie enough. I've seen that movie. I haven't actually seen it in a long time, but I do need to watch it again. It's one of the greatest vampire movies ever made. And again, there's a lot of fantastic vampire movies. It's easily one of the best. Like it's so good. It's so damn good. There was a remake of it that Matt Reeves directed, which is actually pretty decent, and I think it's called Let Me In, and it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty decent, but really, in real, in real talk, it's not really. I mean, you can't hold anything up against Let the Right One In. I mean, it's got everything. It's got one of the most stunning conclusions. Also, it's just so beautifully shot. It's a masterpiece, I think. I don't hear that movie talked about enough. Like, it's really one of the greatest vampire movies ever made. Another two movies that it's interesting because there's the original and then there's the remake, which is I think even more so with the remake. It's definitely a wintry movie. But the original also definitely the original, but the remake I think even more so for lots of reasons. The way it's shot, I guess. Well, there's a lot more scenes of actual snow in it. Um, and that is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Fantastic, fantastic movie. Great series. The original foreign versions are super awesome. There's a trilogy. I haven't read any of the books. One of these days I probably will. But amazing films, especially the first one. It is such a fantastic thriller. Super twisted, super dark, really suspenseful. The original is really, really great, and definitely a winter movie. And all three in the trilogy are really, really good. But the first one is incredible. But then fast forward, um, quite a few years back, one of my favorite directors, David Fincher, remade it. And it was going to be this whole thing of where he was going to basically do three American versions of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And so he did one, he only did one, which is called The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And it's essentially a remake, a little bit more in a modern kind of context or whatnot. But it failed in the box office. It didn't do anything. It was a big flop. And from what I gathered, like originally the studio was going to greenlight David Fincher to make all three movies, but the first one bombed so badly that they canned the whole idea, and he never made another one, which is unfortunate because It's interesting. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the remake, again, even more wintry. I saw that in the theater, and I didn't really like it when I first saw it. It was kind of the same. Well, I think it was the second collaboration as well with Trent Reznor and Atticus Roth. It was they they of course all worked together for the first time on Social Network with David Fincher directing, which is an incredible film. One of the greatest soundtrack film scores ever conceived. And it was, of course, the beginning of his new career as a for Trent Reznor and Atticus Roth. Atticus Ross to become film composers, which now they've won Academy Awards and they've done so many movies and the stuff they do is just absolutely fantastic. Huge fan, and huge fan of Nine Inch Nails as well. But I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the remake by David Fincher, was their second movie that they did together. And it's weird because when I first saw the remake in the theater, I thought it was okay. I don't know, I wasn't totally into it. I didn't think it was as good as the original. I didn't think it was as brutal and as dark, as gritty. I thought it was pretty suspenseful, but I felt like some of the darker elements were not glossed over, but they just didn't seem as strong. And I wasn't as invested in the film. I mean, because The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo has some shocking moments, and I didn't get that feeling from the remake. Even though David Fincher is one of my favorite directors of all time. But then something happened with that movie, with the remake. I saw it maybe a couple of years, 5 years later. I was on the fence. I thought it was okay. No, nowhere near as good. And I was a little bit disappointed because David Fincher is such an amazing director. I thought visually it looked incredible, but it had that David Lynch style. But I was kind of let down by it. And then so fast forward a couple of years later, 5 years or so later, I saw it on DVD, and I was like, it grew on me. And then I saw it a few more times on DVD, and I think I saw it once on Blu-ray, and then I totally fell in love with it. I think it's an amazing movie. The remake, I think it's one of the best remakes. It's pretty close. I mean, it does essentially follow the same storyline as the first one, but it does have certain things that it does that are significantly different. But it was funny because I totally fell in love with that movie, and I absolutely love that movie now. And I think, as far as seasonal wintry movies, it even has more of that because there's a lot more scenes of snow. It's one of those movies that I think about when it's snowing out. It's kind of weird because the winter setting is such a part of that movie, and it makes you feel like cold, and you want to like go to a warm place and drink a cup of hot chocolate or something. But extraordinary movie, really is. I want to see it again. I don't own it on Blu-ray, but I would love to get it because I think it's such a great film. I do own the original, the first two, or I think I own all three of the originals on Blu-ray. But incredible film, incredible film. And I don't know if I've done a show on the original. I'll have to check, but if I didn't, I should definitely do a show on it. But I definitely have that on Blu-ray. I do need to get the David Fincher version on Blu-ray. Definitely a must own. Another movie that is a lot less known, a movie I never hear talked about, and I think it takes place in World War II, but winter is such a massive part of it. It's a war movie, and it's called On a Midnight Clear, and I believe it stars Matt Dillon. Really, really good movie, and it's a World War II film, and the whole setting is in the winter climate, and it also has like this Christmas vibe. It does also take place during Christmas, so it has a little bit of a Christmas vibe film. Um, it's a really interesting movie. It's got one of the most bleak, one of the most bleak and one of the most depressing kind of endings ever for a film. But it's an awesome movie, and it's a really really good World War II film, and it's about this battalion of American soldiers, almost in this weird, strange way, kind of befriending this Nazi battalion, and there's like this kind of human connection between these two groups that are essentially trying to kill each other. And but it's a really really good movie. But Wintertime is, I haven't seen it in a long time. I have it on VHS. I don't have it on DVD, but it's a beautifully shot movie. Um, Really really good. It's called On a Midnight Clear, or no, it's actually called A Midnight Clear. If you look it up, you should be able to find it. Matt Dillon's in it. It came out many years ago, maybe in the late '80s, early '90s. Pretty old movie at this point, but really really good. A really good war movie, very original. It has a little bit of like um trying to describe it as something that it always reminds me of. It's a pretty like emotional film. It's not like an action driven kind of war film, but it's an extraordinary movie. Extraordinary movie. It the movie I couldn't think of the that it reminds me of. I think it really reminds me a lot of Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. It definitely has a little bit of that vibe. It goes into very unique and unexpected directions too. But really good movie. And but the winter scenery is absolutely gorgeous. The cinematography is amazing. Definitely recommend it. It's a movie I never hear talked about. Really, really great film. And but again, it's one of those movies that it's basically as wintry as you can possibly get. Fantastic movie, and Midnight Clear. And so, other movies that I think really kind of encapsulate the winter season, I would say, even though it's really a well, no, I shouldn't say that. I think it is actually a very big part of it. For many, many years, I still think this movie is an absolute masterpiece, but it's not number one for me anymore, and I'll get into that, of course. But this movie is still not. Um, this movie, even though it's not number one for me, it doesn't diminish the love that I have for this film, and that is Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, starring, of course, Gary Oldman. That movie, I mean, it's a masterpiece, and I've thought up until a year ago that that is the greatest adaptation of Bram Stoker's classic novel. I've done, I know I've done probably at least two videos on Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I have a really amazing Blu-ray edition of that film. I have such a long history of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like I remember seeing it when it. I don't think I got a chance to see it in the theater. I think I saw it on TV first, and then I saw it on V or DVD or VHS, and then I bought it. I have multiple copies of it. I have multiple copies, like a couple standard versions of it on DVD. Then I have like a director's cut on DVD, and then few years, and then I bought like a pretty standard Blu-ray version of it. But then I also bought a really really amazing special edition of it on Blu-ray, which is amazing. And I've seen Bram Stoker's Dracula. So it's one of those movies I've seen so many times I couldn't tell you how many, what that number is. It's it's a masterpiece. And winter, especially the third act of this film, is such a massive part of this movie. It's beautiful. I mean, the cinematography, it was kind of done from a technical, during or I should say, this film was shot, kind of right before the kind of emergence of CGI. There's so much practical effects in this movie. There is so much, and the sets and everything are just extraordinary. The costuming, I mean, it's a masterpiece. I mean, it really is. It's and it's such a unique film. I think it's such a unique film because it's such an original take. I think it's really, really, really close to the novel by Bram Stoker, of course. And it's glorious. It's such a glorious film. But again, the main reason to talk about it is because I'm like, yesterday after I shot this video, I was like, why didn't I mention Bram Stoker's Dracula? I mean, it's kind of synonymous. It goes hand in hand with the winter season, I think. So, hence why I'm doing a part two. Extraordinary movie, extraordinary movie. Very talked about. If no one, anybody seeing this video hasn't seen that movie, I don't know what I can say. But extraordinary movie. But the movie that I think even more so puts me in the winter state of mind because literally every scene is shot in this winter climate, and you can almost taste the snow on your body, or taste the snow on your mouth or your tongue, and you can feel the cold air and that brooding, this sense of impending doom, and that is Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. That movie to me is a complete masterpiece, and for me, that's the movie that honestly knocked Bram Stoker's Coppola's Dracula down to number two, and Robert Eggers' masterpiece of Nosferatu is number one. I think for me that is the greatest uh, Dracula Nosferatu adaptation version ever made. I think it's so. Um, it's really interesting too because I've read the novel so many times. I've done multiple shows on Nosferatu. I did a big show on my. I was really excited to see it. I was really really excited to see it. It came out just about a year ago now, which is crazy. I was really really looking forward to seeing it. So I remember I did a show on my anticipation to see it. I did a trailer review for the movie, and then I saw it in the theater. I saw it twice in the theater. I did a review after I saw it in the theater, and then I did a second review after the second time I saw it. And then I bought it not that long ago on Blu-ray, and then I did another show. So I have like 5 shows on this movie. So I like it. It's a masterpiece. And winter again, it's such a massive component of this movie, and in some ways, I think it's when it comes to the winter season. In some ways, I think it's if you love vampire movies and if you have a deep love of Dracula like I do, Nosferatu, I think it could be the number one movie. The thing that I love so much about Nosferatu, I mean, the setting, the locations, it's just so gothic and so beautiful and sexy. The themes that Robert Eggers really tackled, which is really a part of the book. I mean, because after I've read Bram Stoker's original novel so many times, it was like, I've read that book so many times. That was one of the books that got me, because I have a deep love for reading, and that was one of the books that did it for me when I was a kid. And I remember reading the Bram Stoker's Dracula in high school, and I was just like, this is amazing, and that got me hooked you know, into reading, and to where I was like, this is, just such a wonderful thing. And it was a real that movie was one of the big motivations for that. And after I saw after I saw Nosferatu in the theater for the second time, which says a lot because I don't usually do that. Because movies, some movies are pretty long, and Nosferatu is pretty long. I mean, it's close to 3 hours, but it just whizzes right by, and it's very slow and brooding. But for me, it just was so engrossing. And after I saw it the second time in the theater, I decided to read the book again, and that was really interesting because a lot of the themes, kind of a lot of the gothic themes that Bram Stoker, really talked about and explored in the book, Robert Eggers really focused on. The whole I guess we call it like the Freud, with Sigmund Freud, we talk about kind of the connection between death and sex, and you know the film and the book, but the movie really explores that connection between sex and death and like obsession, um, and love, and lust, and it just really takes a deep dive in kind of exploring those kind of gothic themes. So it's got this certain kind of it's got this different level of this like a heavier emotional quality to it because this film really and it gets into the tragedy of it, of what obsession can do and love can do, and you know and just and exploring taboos around this connection between life and death and sex and all this and this kind of morbid curiosity that we have sometimes as human beings. And so just an extraordinary movie. So that was, and a lot of the times I think about, because I love that movie so much, I think about when it's snowing, I think of that movie, I think of the music, I think of the some of the visuals, and it puts me in that state of mind to want to watch that movie when I see it snowing. Extraordinary movie. So yeah, that's the list. This is part 2 of winter movies. So a lot of these movies that I've talked about in both of these shows, I think some of them are pretty well known. I mean, The Shining, I think Bram Stoker's Dracula. Some are probably not as well known. I tried to think of ones that are well, just for me, movies that I think are really great and fantastic and that I love. But I tried to bring a little bit of variety of, like, maybe covering movies that that aren't really talked about enough, like Let the Right One In, or In the Midnight Clear, things like that. Simple Plan, and definitely Affliction. So yeah, check out any of these movies that I'm talking about. I'm gonna try to list all of the movies that I talked about in this episode, which is part 2. I did for the first one, which will probably be up pretty soon. So yeah, thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.